In a world of collaborations and crossovers, there's one that is kind of at the top of the pyramid that would probably never happen, or at least I don't see how it could happen, but I kind of want it to happen. World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV collaboration.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Will it ever happen? That is a big question. Yoshi P seems to think so on this particular interview. So we're talking here about the Power Unlimited article that came out today, August 21st, 2025. And obviously go and support them. The link will be in the description of the video. And we always like to cover as much of this stuff as possible. Gamescom is a treasure trove of interviews coming out over the next few days. We might get some absolute gems, but starting with this then. So is Gamescom where wishes come true? I would like to ask that question as well. So let's look at this. So Naoki Yoshida, the producer and director of Final Fantasy XIV, who is also known as Yoshi P, has indicated in an interview with the PU editor, don't know what that means, is that Persistent Universe editor? Not sure, Joe Van Burik, that he would like to collaborate with World of Warcraft. Yoshi P mentioned Blizzard after an earlier question about crossovers and similar collaborations. He says he's always welcome at Blizzard to have open conversations about game development and such topics, end quote. He's already visited Blizzard 3 times, this article says. I didn't realize it was 3 times. I remember back in Stormblood that this was mentioned, and more recently in the media tour, questions and answers for Dawntrail, but wow, 3 times he's been to Blizzard. The director was then asked if he'd like to have an open to a collaboration between Square Enix's MMORPG and Blizzard's. He answered very clearly, "Of course, however, that's not exactly possible." He explained, "When we look at the communities of our games, both companies face some pressure from players regarding our schedule. So if we were to work on a collaboration, there's always a chance we'd get feedback from our players telling us they'd rather have content for their own games than us working on the collaboration. So I think both companies need time to work on development." That's a very good point. And the biggest point probably about this, he says the possibility still hasn't been ruled out. Yoshi P also says the following, quote, "Especially because we're working with expansions for both titles, the main question is when we'll do it. That's the biggest consideration," end quote. He then adds that Blizzard is very open-minded and he doesn't expect the possibility to be negatively impacted. So it's mainly a matter of when. There's that quote again. So there was a full interview basically talking about this, but that's the footnotes and that's what this article is about. It's interesting to me that we still have this discussion, that are we going to get these crossovers? Is this possible? I think it is just a matter of time, and when you have an MMORPG being developed by 2 very large industry leaders basically in their field, it's probably going to be something that is... Yeah, how do you find time to make this? That's my question. And if you do a collaboration, how do you make sure that both parties get an equal slice of the pie, so to speak? Not every collaboration can be like Monster Hunter, right? We've got the Monster Hunter Wilds collaboration coming up in October for our Final Fantasy version. And in September, Wilds is getting Omega added to their game as a title update. So that's a pretty close-knit working community in Japan, right? The offices of Capcom are pretty much across the road from Square Enix's. It's not necessarily that hard to put that together, but even that has taken quite a lot of work to pull off, What would it take for Yoshi P and whoever the current leader of Blizzard is? I completely have no idea anymore. To sit down, brainstorm this out, figure out how they're going to do this. Because what would you like? Would you want a World of Warcraft boss as like a piece of trial content for 14? Or would you prefer it to be less than that? You know what I mean? The expectations of a player base or 2 player bases are pretty high. And you can kind of get away with battle content for the Monster Hunter stuff because it's known for that. But what is World of Warcraft known for these days? It's raid content? Maybe a crossover raid? That would be interesting. The potential is there. And I like the positivity. I just don't see this coming to fruition. Watch back in like 2 years' time when I'll eat my own words and this will be, oh, the World of Warcraft 14 collaboration, and it'll actually happen. But yeah, in the kind of design space, they are right though. Like, how is the player base going to react to this? There are so many questions. So many questions. So many questions. I just can't vision it personally. If you were to do a collaboration with both of these games, let's say you take the hot seat for a hot minute, okay? Let's say you're the producer and director of both games just for a second, right? Your left hand and your right hand. How would you discuss how to even approach this time frame wise? What content would you want to see in both games? Because it's got to be both games, right? You can't have a one-sided collaboration, otherwise one side gets screwed over. If it was me and there was no budget, no limits, that's a good question. I'd probably want for something like Wrath of the Lich King, I'd want like Arthas or something, or you know, Illidan. I know we're past that point in World of Warcraft, but if we're going anything, I would love to have like some kind of incursion with Illidan in 14 as a trial or something, or the Frozen Throne as a trial in 14. That would be so unusual, but I would love to see like an extreme version of that, or even an ultimate. That would be sick. For World of Warcraft, I mean, they could just put chocobos in the game. Put chocobos in the game, you know, put Mikote in there, right? Get all of the cat girls in there. Instantly, everybody resubs to World of Warcraft. You could do anything, right? I think it's a lot easier one side than it is the other. Or is that just me thinking this direction because I've played 14 for a lot longer now, which is scary to think of? I don't know. Let me know what you think the perfect collaboration would be. What would you like to get out of it? And is it worth their time? You know, is it worth these developers coming together to collaborate on things rather than adding more things their own game deserves that has been long awaited, that people have been asking for? That is the question. Let me know what you think about this, and also give a quick click over to Power Unlimited and check out the full interview. They have a full interview, full coverage of the Final Fantasy XIV stuff, the World of Warcraft stuff. Yeah, go give them some love. But at the end of the day, how would this be possible? It's not a matter of just when. Surely not. Surely not. We'll see. Like I say, a couple of years' time from now, if we get a World of Warcraft a collaboration with Final Fantasy XIV, I will eat the proverbial hat and I will eat a humble pie, and I'll be the happiest person on the planet, because for some reason I think I'm the only person on the planet that loves both games and wishes them both the best. But there we go. Anyway, bye-bye.